darlings, it's Chris Reardon with you. Today's United Kingdom talk in the garden again on a rather windy day. It's a bit windy today, which brings me nicely on to my first... Oh, I was going to say to you, I feel rather high. I've been on a bit of a high for the last few days, and I don't know why. I don't know why. What is it that makes us suddenly go on a high for no reason at all? Have you ever wondered that? I mean, I'm starting to wonder, is it some of the foods that I'm eating? Are there what are they called, additives to any of the foods, those E numbers that they say send children haywire and running around the place and full of energy? Do you think that could possibly have happened? Suko's wondering now. If that's the case, have I been eating naughty things again? Aren't you wondering that, aren't you, Suko? Have I been doing the fast food? No, not really. Now, what did I have last night? Suko, I will admit to you last night, just after the bingo at West 5, I did have 5 small custard cream biscuits. And to be honest, there wasn't an awful lot of custard cream because I think he bought cheap ones. That's John, the manager. Oh, yeah, they won't learn, do they? They won't learn. Do not buy cheap custard creams or cheap tea. It doesn't work, dear. Has anyone ever bought those economy tea bags? And you have to put about 10 tea bags in one cup to get a decent cup. Don't buy them. Just thought I'd mention that, Suko, in case you for one moment were wondering there if I'd been rather naughty and I'd been down to a fast food restaurant. Certainly not. I do think if you're a new listener or viewer to the show, welcome along. At the beginning of the year, I made a New Year's Eve... I've made several New Year's Eve resolutions, only one of which I've been able to hold on to, and that is not to visit fast food outlets such as McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, not to visit more than 10 times this year. And I'm well within my budget. Am I not, Suko? Okay, I know. So we've had the odd bar of chocolate here and the odd bag of crisps there. But visits to fast food restaurants, I think, are going quite well. Eh? I'm not doing too bad, am I? 10 I'm allowed a year. How many times have I been so far, Suko? Suko's keeping a list. Suko is a regular viewer and listener to the show in New York, aren't you, darling? Oh, incidentally, hope you find the... you may have noticed the chair has now stopped squeaking. A couple of shows ago, I did tell you that I'm now bringing out one of the kitchen chairs rather than that rickety old thing that I used to sit out in the garden. And look, no more squeaking. Isn't that better? Eh? No more squeaking at all. So there we are. So, yeah, been feeling rather high for the last few days. No reason at all. Sort of going home, finishing wherever I'm working at night, whether it's DJing or bingo or anything like that, and feeling quite happy and pleased. Isn't that strange? Why is that? Does anyone do stars? Have we got any, not astronomers, astrological people, eh? We have a very famous one here, Russell Grant, who I actually saw on the television last night for the first time. I haven't seen him for years. Russell Grant, he used to do all the stars and that on breakfast television, when of course it was presented by Frank Bough and Selena Scott, way back in the early 80s. Oh, I used to love that show. Does anyone remember that? BBC Breakfast Time with Frank Bough and Selena Scott. Very early 80s, and there was Russell Grant. He used to do the stars, astrology. That's it, astrology. He used to do the stars, and there was the Green Goddess who used to do. I'm looking a little bit like a Green Goddess today, don't you think? I've got my favourite, one of my favourite green shirt on today. I am looking like the Green Goddess. Maybe we need to do exercising. I think I've done enough exercising already today. I did go swimming earlier. Oh, Suko, I have to admit to you, I did have a cheese and onion pasty today, and yesterday I also had a cheese and onion pasty. Sorry, bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. Today I have had a cheese and onion pasty, and yesterday I had a cheese and onion pasty and a vegetable pasty. But surely the contents of the vegetable pasty outweighs the badness of the pasty around it. What do you reckon, Suko? I seek your advice on that. I do seek your advice on that, okay? Yeah, so I don't know why I kind of feel quite high the last few days. It's good, though, isn't it? Who does astrology? Oh, yeah, we're talking about breakfast time. Yes, Selena Scott, Frank Bough. There was Francis Wilson, who used to do the weather. The Green Goddess. Russell Grant did the astrology. Who else was on that show? They're the only ones that really stick in my mind. Was round about 1983, I think, 1984. I was at school at the time. Was I at school? Was I at work? Oh, hang on. 83. No, I was at work then. I was at work. And every morning, without fail, I'd rush downstairs to watch BBC Breakfast Time. And the graphics, you know the little graphics and the pictures that they have before and during and after TV shows, little graphics, like a little sun that used to come up and it would go, da, 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 and this thing used to turn around and flip over and it would come up, Breakfast Time. And then it would fade to Frank Bough. It was very clever. I used to love this little sign that come up on the telly. It's sad, really, isn't it? I can't believe how long ago it is. I think it was 1983. I might be wrong with that. Now, it's a bit too newsy, the programme now. I don't know what happened to Frank Bough. He got into a little bit of trouble, I think, and he kind of disappeared off the television. But that doesn't really bother me what people do if I'm being entertained. You know, I don't really peer into their private lives or anything like that. No, not really, I suppose. Unless they do something really bad that affects other people. That might bother me. But anyone know what Frank Bough's doing now? Of course, he was also the presenter of Grandstand. For years and years I watched this guy. Grandstand, which my dad watched as well, of course. Really good TV presenter, and then he kind of just disappeared. I don't know what he's doing now. Selena Scott, you still see her on the telly. Francis Wilson is still doing the weather. And Russell Grant, as I say, last time I saw him for the first time last night on this new television programme here in the UK at night time on ITV called Bingo, Nighttime Bingo or something like that. Really good. I loved it. I didn't play because I was just finishing work and they had a TV screen on. Basically, it's bingo on the television, and behind the presenter they have this massive scoreboard of bingo numbers which light up as the numbers are called, and it's the graphics. Again, the graphics on this are fantastic, really fantastic, and that is a job I'd like. To host bingo on I'm going off on bingo on ITV. Really good. You got to give that a watch. I think it's on very, very late at night for about an hour and a half or something like that. But the set is unbelievable. As I say, they've got a big display of bingo numbers behind the presenter right across the whole of the back wall. And these numbers come up, right? And then when someone's won, they automatically know. I'm not quite sure how it works, but they know, and then they show you a picture of the UK, right? It's all computer, obviously, and then it zooms into the town of where this person is and tells you who's won, just their first names. How fantastic is that? So glad. I'd love to do that game. Incidentally, talking of bingo, now you know I do host 2 bingo nights, which I call Bingay, B-I-N-G-A-Y. Okay, now that name, as I've said to you before, does come from Australia. It's not a name I made up. There was a little place in Sydney, in Newtown, called the Imperial Pub. And they were doing a night called Bingay, which was basically bingo. I went and saw it, liked it, and used the name here, which is, not a problem. I have noticed there is another pub now here in London doing a Bingay night, and they're using the name. Nothing I could do about it. I mean, it's not my exclusive name or anything like that. And someone said to me, maybe I should trademark or copyright the name? But I'm not too bothered, really. I mean, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Funny thing is, I did find out that a few people had been ringing up the pub and asking them if it was me. And apparently the manager there was getting more and more annoyed because, of course, it's not me. And people go, is it Chris Reardon's bingo? No, it's not Chris Reardon's bingo. Nothing to do. And he was getting really annoyed. We love it, don't we? We love it. Right. What else am I going to tell you today? Oh, yes, as I say, it's a bit windy out here today, which brings me nicely onto my next subject. And I might have mentioned this to you about a year and a half ago. Wind turbines. Wind turbines. Here in the UK, you can now buy and have installed a small wind turbine. which kind of fits on the side of your house, okay, and turns around when it's windy and generates electricity. Yes. Now, I've been thinking about this for a long time. When they first came out, would have been about 2 years ago, I did think about it then, but it was kind of new technology. And I'm always a little bit wary of new technology. Never quite sure whether it's actually going to work or not. When I had the solar panels put up a good year and a half ago now, they were already proven technology. Solar panels have been around for a couple of decades now, but you know, until fairly recently, until the last few years, they were prohibitively expensive. I mean, tens of thousands of pounds, you know, to put a couple up. Now, they have come right down in price, and I had mine put up 2 years ago, very happy with it. Well, to add on to that, I'm now considering having a small wind turbine attached to the side of the house. Now, apparently these generate about 1.25 kilowatts of electricity, and that would light 1 bar on your fire if it was going like at full pelt, I suppose, maximum electricity being generated from such a thing. But I've made inquiries, and I spoke to a lady on the phone, and she says, yeah, it does sound like I will be able to have one here, and a man is coming round to have a look at the side of the house to see if one can be fitted or not. Now, these things actually attach to the side of your house, okay, and spin round. Now that is one of the other things that put me off a couple of years ago at first, because I was a little bit concerned, not so sure about something attached to the side of your house, spinning round all the time. Will it vibrate? Will it shake bricks loose? You know the sort of problem, right? But I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he says, well, hang on, you've got a TV aerial, haven't you? And I said, yes. He said, well, that must pick up the wind and shake the bricks. I said, yeah, but surely, if something's spinning as well, won't that cause more vibration? And he says, no, not necessarily, because, of course, these things have got to be, like, streamlined for the wind, haven't they? So presumably it'll be all right. Also, I would have thought within the 2 years that these things have been available, if there had been a problem with vibrations and loosening bricks and that sort of thing, then we would have heard about it big time. And there's been nothing. So a man is coming round to have a look at the side of the house at some point. He hasn't made an appointment, I haven't heard from him yet, but she said a man would ring up, and they're going to come and see if I can have a wind turbine on the side of the house. You see, I'm becoming even more green and efficient. That's what we like, green and efficiency. There are actually, I mean, I'd love one, because I don't think wind turbines are ugly. There are a lot of people, they think they are really horrible, ugly things. I don't think they're ugly at all. If I could, well, I'm not allowed to do it here, I don't think, but if I could have like a small tower in the corner of the garden and have a larger one turn it, I'd be more than happy for that to happen. I'd be more than happy. Actually, when the bloke comes round, I might actually ask him if that's allowed. I think, would I need planning permission for that if it's in my garden? Or is it above a certain height? I'm not quite sure about that. Not quite sure. But I'd happily have one right next to the house. These are like mini ones, and they attach to the side of the house. So I'll let you know how that goes. All right? We'll see how that goes. And just before we go on to the emails, how are we doing? We've got loads of time, haven't we? Just before we go on to the emails, did I tell you my recent cat story yet? Because I don't think I did. I don't remember telling you this. If I did tell you this, I do apologise. I'm going to repeat myself. But let's face it, it won't be the first time, will it, eh? You know, we do like to repeat ourselves. I only do it in case you forget something. OK, so I remind you. It's just a repeat. OK, a repeat. So if I am repeating this, apologies. But if I'm not, here goes. So I'm in the kitchen the other day. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning. I'd only just got up. In the kitchen, and all of a sudden I heard this terrific racket outside. And I looked out the window, hailstones. Now this is about 4 weeks ago, but nevertheless, hailstones this time of the year, very unusual. I also saw a flash of lightning and some thunder as well, and these hailstones came tumbling down, bang, 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 on the window. I looked out the window on the floor, and they weren't small. These were about half the size of a marble. So you know, not tiny things. Now, depending on, of course, where you live, that to me is a large house stone. My cousin in Australia has told me once they had house stones there and they were literally the size of tennis balls. I mean, can you imagine being hit on the head by one of those? Kill you, wouldn't it? So these house stones are coming round, and then I saw a cat, one of my cats, the old one, you know, tiny, the old long-haired one. She was over here a minute ago. Oh, she's over there now, asleep. Suddenly shoot out from underneath the holly bush towards her little cat flap, which is just over to the left of me. And she started nudging this cat flap with her nose, and for some reason she couldn't open the door. Don't ask me why. She just couldn't get this door open. So what did she do? Well, I opened the door when I saw this. Tiny, Tiny, I started calling her, Tiny, come in. Right? Nothing. She didn't come in at all. She literally went down on all fours. I'm sure I've told you this. She went down on all fours and just sat there while being pelted by these house stones. It was kind of like as if she had accepted this. That was the end, you know. I'm calling her at the door. Silly cow, don't come. So I had to come over and rescue her, boys and girls. I did a rescue attempt. I came over. I got a little. Well, I didn't get wet myself. I put my waterproofs on. Walked over, picked the cat up and brought her inside. Poor old soul. I got a tea towel and rubbed her dry. She quite likes that, the rubbing dry. There we are. So that's the cat story. Aren't they funny cats? They really are funny creatures, aren't they, eh? How many times have you been driving along the road and they just stop in front of the car, sit down and glare at you? Don't you dare run over me, they say. Huh? The other cat the other day, Katy, she was out here. I'd just finished recording a show, and of course I've got my kitchen chair out here. So I'd gone back inside, taken the show upstairs to edit it and put it all together and upload it to the computer people. And I come back downstairs to put the chair back in, and the other cat, Katy, the younger one, she's sitting on the chair. Sitting on the chair, you know, like, you know, two paws out like that. Purring away, little eyes half closed where she's quite content to sit there. And I thought, well, I can't move her off the chair, so I picked up the whole chair and brought her back inside. And she was lying there. Honestly, the two paws were like this. Reminded me of Cleopatra. I mean, at some point, I suppose I should have put her on the settee in the living room and fed her grapes or something like that. She did look like Cleopatra, the cat. That'd be a good name for a cat, wouldn't it? Cleopatra. So they're my two cat stories today. All right. My wind turbine I've told you about. Right. Oh, Suko, I nearly forgot. I did also have this week a family apple pie and a small apple pie. Is that all right? But they were deep filled, so it's mainly apple rather than pastry. Okay. Is that all right? Is that all right, Suko? The only thing is with some of these shop apple pies, they always tend to be just pastry, don't they? Why is that? Is it a lot cheaper than putting in... I mean, you know, some of these apple pies, you're lucky to have about a quarter of an apple in the blooming things, aren't you? I bet Joy in Acton makes nice apple pies. Do you, Joy? Do you make apple pies, my love? Oh, yeah, I haven't had one of your apple pies. Do you? You have to tell me. There is an email address to the show. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Right then, here we go with some emails. First of all, on the subject of wind, as we were doing the wind turbines and the house stones and weather, here's one from our cat lover, Susan. Hello, Susan. And she says the subject of this is tornado terror. The eagle has landed. By the way, that was. I mean, I don't actually know what a tornado sounds like. I should imagine that's a really scary thing. Really scary thing. Susan writes, "Hi Chris. I do believe in global warming. The storms here in North Texas have become extremely violent and tornadoes have been a weekly occurrence this spring. The winds in these thunderstorms have been up to 85 miles an hour. This year, so far, I've been lucky. Last year, it was a different story. So I'm going to tell you about one of the two terrorising events that happened to my kitty and I last year. Now, if you're new to the show, just to fill you in a little bit, Susan has a great big bobcat as her pet. It's enormous. It's like the size of about 8 British domestic cats. This is enormous, this book. Just type in bobcat on the Google thing and have a look at some pictures of bobcat. She's got one as a pet and it sleeps on a bed and everything. She's got no room. Susan says, we were snoozing peacefully in bed when a storm woke us up at around 2 o'clock in the morning. The wind and lightning were terrific, but Kitty and I felt safe and secure. Well, we do in our houses, don't we? Although I must admit, I get a little bit scared in lightning. I find lightning amazing and also terrifying in the same breath. And I tend to, sometimes if there's a lightning storm and I'm in bed, I sometimes wonder if I should go downstairs and I'd be safer in the living room, would you? Because if a bolt comes through the roof, it's more likely to get me on the top floor than the bottom, isn't it? Or just a thought. Susan writes, all of a sudden, the wind started roaring and even my closet doors were shaking. Then there was a terrific boom. I jumped out of bed and ran to the window, and what I saw scared the hell out of me. There was a huge metallic object sitting behind my car in the driveway. And Lord have mercy, the portal door was open. Nowhere to run. With the pond blocking my escape out the back and the UFO in front, Kitty and I were trapped. Now, of course, at this point, if this had been a film or a story on proper television, there would be music now, wouldn't there? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the Jaws music, remember? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then the door flew open. We need sound effects, don't we? We do need sound effects. Another flash of lightning lit up the sky, and another boom. The electricity went off. My big, brave bobcat has not been able to fit under the bed since he was a baby, and yet he scrambled on his belly under the bed. Oh, poor cat. Animals get so scared, don't they? That's why I look after my cats. Tiny! Where are the cats? And it was Tiny's disappeared. Tiny! Katy! I can't understand it. They always seem to disappear when I'm talking to you. Have you noticed that? Oh well. Susan says, so much for the bobcat protecting me. Every man for himself. My only hope was to call the county sheriff, but what to tell them? I called and asked them if there had been any tornadoes in our area. Oh, I'm sorry about that noise. What is that? Sounds like someone's sawing, doesn't it? Listen. Is it sawing? Right, it's stopped now. I think they might be cutting a tree down a little bit over there. Susan says, they said no, there'd be no tornadoes. I meekly told them that there was a huge metallic object that came flying down and was sitting in my driveway. Either thinking that I was a crazy old bat or eager to see a real UFO, they were outside my house in minutes with their spotlights shining. Yes, spotlights moving. It was a little bit like those spotlights, you know, in that film War of the Worlds. Have you seen that? The original one, not the dreadful remake with Tom Cruise. Wasn't that awful? God almighty. That has got to be one of the worst remakes of a film I've ever seen. War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. Dreadful film. Someone's going to tell me, yeah, but it took loads of money. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's good. Just because something makes loads of money doesn't mean it's good. You're just lucky. People would have gone, not necessarily because they don't know what it's going to be like. So, of course, by the time you see what I mean? By the time you've gone to see a film, you've paid your money, OK, so that makes the box office taking go up a bit more. You may not have liked that film, but then they come out and say, oh, yeah, that was a success, it made $20 million. Doesn't mean it was good. Not impressed. Not impressed. Who else saw the remake of War of the Worlds? Anyone? And what did you think of it? Because there's been a few remakes around at the moment, hasn't there? War of the Worlds, Saint Trinian's, and I gather there's a new one out, just about to come out, Journey to the Centre of the Earth, which I must go, I've got to go and see that. I don't know if it's on yet. Remember the original of that? But the original of the War of the Worlds, OK, with the special effects, you know, they were what they were in the 50s, weren't they? Or 60s, whenever it was made. It was OK, but it was good, it was well made. The remake of the War of the Worlds, Tom Cruise, dreadful film. Absolutely dreadful. Dreadful. The best part of that film for me was when Tom Cruise turned around and he had those tight jeans on and you saw the outline, well, it doesn't matter, there we are. From his back belowwards. I'm only joking, Christ's sake, or am I? No, that was for me the best part of the film. Yeah, when you saw his bottom in those sheets. Oh, you saw that bit as well, ladies, did you? I thought you had done. Yes, I don't miss a trick, don't worry. Did anyone see that film, though? What did you think of it? Let me know. Email address, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Back to the email. What are they? What do you call them? Not police. Is it sheriff? Hang on a minute. Yeah, the sheriff. They couldn't believe their eyes either. My neighbour's storage shed that had sat over an acre away had flown over his fence and landed upside down in my driveway. Only the doors were missing. Where were they? It had landed only 6 inches from my car and left it without a scratch. How lucky are you, eh? Wow. My tiny little 2-seater convertible was dwarfed by this monstrous shed. The police figured it must have been a small tornado that briefly touched down, as nothing else was damaged. Thank goodness it was a storage shed instead of the little green men. Oh no, I don't know about that, Susan. I'd quite like to meet aliens, I think. I'd like to see their world and how they live, what they eat, what they drink. Maybe it's life not as we know it. It's quite exciting in the news at the moment. I believe they've the recent little shuttle thing that went to Mars, haven't they found ice? How exciting is that? Because it can't be that in all that vastness, the never-ending space and galaxies, it can't be that we are the only things that exist, can it? It just can't be. We just haven't found anyone yet. That's just a subject I could chat on for hours and hours about, that space. And would I like to go to space? I suppose it's no different really to getting on a plane, is it? Sitting in that little metal box and going thousands and thousands of miles with your life supported by what's in that box. If the box tears, you've had it. No air, is there? But I kind of hope that I will be able to hear, to see us discover other life, or maybe it to discover us. The only thing is, I do think if a UFO lands, I know we've got that stuff in. The place begins with R. Is it Roswell? Roswell. We all hear those stories about Roswell, don't we? Are they true or are they not? We don't know. Such a long time ago. But I would love to see a spaceship come down in front of me and a door to open, a bit like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And aliens to come out and maybe touch me or talk to me or make contact like that, and then perhaps beam me up into their spaceship and then see their spaceship and their world. And how fantastic would that be? The trouble is, there are a lot of people that wouldn't think of me, and the moment aliens would be seen, they'd shoot them because they were scared. You know, no chance to get to know them or anything. I think sometimes you have to take that risk, don't you? Otherwise, we'd all be shooting everyone. Mind you, with the rudeness in the rudeness around at the moment, which I've mentioned many times, no one smiles at you anyway. Sometimes they look at you as if they're going to shoot you, don't they? Eh? Susan carries on. Also, try explaining to your boss that you will be late to work because you have to wait until a storage shed is moved out of your driveway. Do they not believe you then? As far as UFOs, I blame Mel Gibson, the actor, for destroying my peace of mind. Did you see the movie he made called Signs? No, I didn't see that, no. It was about aliens in the cornfield. I have a large pond with reeds growing in it. Kitty and I used to sit on the back porch swing late at night. Oh, that's nice. That's lovely, that, Susan. What sort of... Can you send me a picture of your... I'd love to see your house. I've got a picture of your garden there. Is it like... I'm getting this picture of your house in my head. I imagine that it's wooden. Okay. I imagine it's like a small version of the Wal... Do you remember the Waltons? I imagine a small version of the Waltons' house with this swing on the back porch, like a raised up wooden area, and then kind of, what do you call them? Like a banister in front of you, all around that back porch with long bits of wood holding the banister up. And then a few wooden steps down to your yard. That's how I imagine your house. Is it anything like that? And maybe directly behind you, I imagine kind of dust rather than lots of plants. How near am I to your house? You haven't got a picture you could send me, have you? I'd love to see your house, Susan. She says, I would drink a glass of wine while sitting on that swing, and we were enjoying listening to the bullfrogs and other night sounds. Yeah, I love night sounds, don't you? And morning sounds as well, certainly when the birds are singing. There's not many birds singing today because it is a bit windy, and that racket over there with it sounds like a chainsaw. Maybe someone's having their head cut off, I don't know. But now all I hear is the wind rustling the reeds. All I can think of is a long grey alien leg sticking out from behind a tree. So I guess no matter how old and mature I am supposed to be, I'm still a child at heart. And she sent a picture of the storage shed that she took after it had been hauled back to her neighbour's property. And it is a very... I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. It's a very, very... Oh, hang on a minute. It's a very, very large shed upside down. It's huge. And this wind clearly picked up the shed and just dumped it behind Susan's car. I think you were lucky you weren't out there, Susan. So thanks very much for that, my darling. All right. Let's say hello to... Yes, I mentioned him in the last shot. I knew I had an email from you somewhere, Brian. Brian's going to let me know. I'm sure Brian's going to let me know any advice I can give to my young nephew, who looks like he's going to get a Yamaha bike. He's probably saving up for it at the moment. And Brian writes Brian's in is it Burlington? Yeah, Burlington, Ontario. I did get that right then, didn't I? I think I pronounced it wrong. Which is in Canada. And Brian writes, just a note to keep in touch and to comment on a few recent topics. Number one, Barack Obama. I recently heard you mention that the US presidential candidate, Barack Obama. Probably you don't know this. No, he says probably you know this. Well, actually I don't. But just in case you didn't, Obama's stepmother is one of your neighbours living in Bracknell. How fantastic is that? She's living close by. And he sent me a Daily Mail link there. And I haven't actually had a look at that yet, but I've got to bring that up on the computer and find out where she lives. Barack Obama's stepmother lives here in Bracknell. I've got to have her around for a cup of tea. Katy, I can see you. Oh, she's naughty. Katy! Katy! Just a minute. Katy! Wait. Get down from there. Naughty girl. What's going on? Dear me. Sorry about that. She's very naughty, so Katy, one of the cats, she jumps up onto the sink and starts drinking out of the tap. Doesn't matter how many bowls of water you put down on the... Katy's the younger cat. Doesn't matter how many bowls of water you put down on the floor, she jumps up and starts drinking out of the tap, dear. And it's like, I've got all my tea and all that up there. What a liberty. I should have shown you what she was doing. Are you being naughty? Katy! Oh, she's been told up. She won't talk. She won't look at me now. Katy! Katy! Her towel's going like that. Does that mean she's annoyed? She knows she's been told off. Katy! Go and have a scratch, darling. That's it, my love. She's having a scratch. Oh, that reminds me. I've got to do her flea stuff. I got that, is it front line? You know, these little things that you squeeze on the back of the necks. Very good at keeping fleas off. I usually have mine from America because they're a lot cheaper over there and you just get them sent in the post. It's fantastic. Marvellous. Anyway, so I've got to go and find Barack Obama's stepmother and invite her around here for a cup of English tea. Maybe we'll have afternoon tea here. We'll have the scones. We'll have the little cakes. We'll have Welsh rabbit. Little sandwiches with the crusts cut off. Hey? I like that. Number 2, dishwasher economies. Now, you may remember I told you that I haven't, since buying the new dishwasher, I haven't used it. I did have one before, which got used quite a lot. I've got a new one now, which has sat there for a year. Hardly have used it, because that appears to have been one of my biggest energy consumers in here. And certainly this year, as well as the weather being a lot sunnier than it was last year, my electricity meter is a lot lower than it was this time last year. Partly to do with the sun hitting the solar panels, of course, but I'm convinced it's also to do with me not using that dishwasher. Because, well, I mean, when you take the plates out of a dishwasher, they are so hot you can't touch them for a while, can you? And I'm convinced of that. I'll have to do a little experiment. That's what I'll do. I'll measure my electricity consumption one day, okay, without the dishwasher. Then I'll measure it on another day with the dishwasher, and we'll see what difference we make, all right? Yeah. Brian says, on another subject, I believe you said that in the interest of energy conservation, you no longer use your dishwasher. That reminded me of something I read years ago that stuck in my head because it surprised me. The article claimed that studies had proven that dishwashers, in fact, use less energy than hand washing dishes. Okay? I'm not sure how they arrived at that conclusion, no doubt. If you hand wash the way I do, and indeed the way I do as well. Oh, you can tell I hand wash. Look at my hands are all rough. Oh, they're all rough. I need to use fairy liquid. Hands that do dishes are as soft as your face, with mild green fairy liquid. Yeah, do you get that advert in the States? Or in Canada, rather? Do you? They usually got a little... Have you seen that advert for fairy washing up liquid? They've usually got a little girl in there. Oh, actually, I haven't seen many adverts for years now, actually, come to think of it. But they used to have... There would be mum washing up at the basin, you know, at the sink. And there'd be a little girl in the living... It was always a little girl, wasn't it? There'd be a little girl in the kitchen with her. And then mum would finish and she'd dry her hands and then go like that to the girl's face. And, Mum, why are your hands so soft? And then she'd start going on about the washing up liquid she was using. Oh, it's such a sweet advert, anyway. Anyway, No doubt, if you hand wash the way I do, i.e. just leaving the hot water tap running while you wash, rather than filling the basin and shutting the water off before starting to wash, then that would be true. Well, actually, Brian, quite often I wash in cold water. Yeah. If it's something greasy, then I will fill the bowl up, put the washing up liquid in and fill it up with hot water and leave it there for a while. But then I tend to maybe the hot water is on a little bit. But see, the thing is, Brian, you must remember that I also have the thermal solar panel. I have one thermal solar panel as well as I have two types of solar panels on the roof. One creates electricity. That's PV solar panels. I've got 16 of those. That's a 3 kilowatt system. And I also have one thermal solar panel which makes hot water. And with that one, cold water goes up, is pumped round, again by a solar operated pump, so that's not costing anything either. Pumped round in this panel, and then the warm water comes back into the tank. So that's free as well for me, you see. So I do see what you're saying here. Brian says, but a lot of the time, certainly I rinse in cold water. There's no point in rinsing in hot water, is there? I suppose the other factor, he says, is that if you use a dishwasher, you generally wait until the machine is full before washing everything together. Whereas if you wash by hand, you tend to run hot water and wash for every couple of dishes. Something to think about. Yeah, see exactly what you're saying there. But, Brian, and I'm just going to show you this. Come with me. I only have a small dishwasher, which I bought a couple of, well, as I say, this is a new one, which I've only had about a year. But most dishwashers, as you know, they kind of take up a whole area behind you, below your sink and all that. This one, see that, is more like a large microwave. Okay? I'll open it up. And I never use the thing, never ever use it. Look, and there's just enough in there for, I suppose, let's think. I would probably take 3 or 4 days to fill that up, to be honest. Okay, my little dishwasher there in the kitchen. Right, there's a can of cat food there as well for you. Yes. Right, hang on. Let me just move back over here then, back into the garden. Have you seen do you want to see my kitchen? Yeah, here's the way. So it's not for nothing. This is how I live, okay? This is gonna show me up in it now. Let me just describe it to you. So this is the view from the back door. You can see, just close your eyes if you're listening on the radio and imagine this. Microwaves on the right there. We've got an electric kettle. There's the sink with just a few little items there waiting to be washed up. Can you see, there's a jug there. That white stuff at the bottom of the jug, that's bits of porridge from earlier on. That's waiting to be washed up as soon as I finish the show. There's the microwave there. Coming around, we've got the ironing board out with the new ironing board cover. Look at that. And my steam iron, which I've now managed, I have at last managed to sort out the steam iron. What it was, I was pushing the wrong button, okay? I was talking to Joy in Acton, actually, a couple of days ago, and she doesn't use steam iron at all. She always dry irons because she irons stuff when it's still damp and supposed to just come out of the machine or something like that. Okay, so there's my ironing board. Here, can you see these items here? Okay, can you see those? There's 4 red boxes just to the right of me. As I say, if you're listening on the radio, just close your eyes and imagine these things, all right? There's another 3, there's 4 grey boxes there. And behind there, there's bottles of spirits. Can you see all those bottles of spirits? Now, I've got to tell you, just in case people are worrying now that I'm turning into an alcoholic, I do not drink. I honestly don't drink anything, except for that glass of champagne I had. When was that? A couple of weeks ago at the Fortnum & Mason's afternoon tea, and that sent me off my head. Completely chatting away I was for the rest of the afternoon. I don't drink. All these bits here are prizes for bingo. Okay? So they're all kept in the house. Don't want to leave alcohol hidden in sheds or anything like that. Rest of the kitchen then, there we are. It's like a yellow and white. It's been like this for years, actually. There's a clock there, another door there. But now this is the bit. Oh, hang on, come round here. There we are. This is the bit that's gonna show you that I am a bit of a messy person. In the middle is my cooker. Can you see it there? The cooker there is in the middle. On top of the cooker is a rucksack and various other items. And that area there should be... That should be a area where I do all my cooking and all that business. But I'm afraid it's not, is it? It's an area more like... that I use like a storage, which is a bit naughty really. I really need to clean that up. Then we've got the chair with some washing waiting to be hung up, and of course my remote controlled Dalek, another table full of all sorts of rubbish, and that's it. And there's my little telly in the corner. So there we are, little viewing of my kitchen. And here is the famous bread machine. Can you see it? Look at this. Oh yes. Oh yes, close, open the door, marvellous. My bread machine, and next to the bread machine, my slow cooker. It's all in here, dear. Oh yes, all the mod cons here. Right, I'm coming back into the garden now. Oh, by the way, it's one of the bushes has come up some lovely blue flowers. Let me just show you this. Beautiful. Look at those. Look at those little flowers there. Aren't they nice? Beautiful little blue flowers on one of the bushes there. Right, come sit that back down there for the last 10 minutes or so. Right, that's it. Put you back there. That's better. Good. Right, where's that email gone? Is it that one there? Oh, I've lost bits of paper there. Yeah. Okay, so that's the dishwasher. Because I'm on my own, no, I don't think... Oh, well, we'll do the experiment. We will do the experiment. What I'll do is read the meter one day, read it another day, and use the dishwasher on one of those days. So I'll start saving up washing now so we can use it, and we'll see what the difference is. All right? High tea at Fortnum and Mason's. Okay? This email is from Brian in Ontario, Canada. And he says, "You do surprise me. You are usually so very diligent in avoiding getting ripped off." Yeah, you're right. You are right. But here, you step out of character. I think that the fabricated appeal of quality and tradition have clouded your usual good judgment. Yeah, I think they did as well. It wasn't so much for me. I mean, yeah, I did want to do it. Would I have done it on my own? Probably not. This was Wayne's birthday, and I knew he would appreciate, Wayne the butler, it's his birthday, and I knew he would appreciate something like this. By the way, he's doing okay. He's having trouble because he left that other job where he was treated badly by a family, unfortunately. Not a family, it was just a husband and wife. The husband was all right, but the woman was awful. Oh, she was really nasty. Nasty piece of good she was. Talked to him like dirt. So he got out of that one. He's had a few other small jobs since, but at the moment he's kind of looking for something more permanent. He's doing a little bit of work at the moment on train journeys. There's a few companies here in the UK where you can go on train journeys, either within the UK or internationally, and you get served dinner and all this, and it's all very, very luxurious. And he's done silver service waitering on those sort of trains. It's blooming hard work, though. Oh yeah, he works 10 hours without a break. Very, very hard work. So he's done that at the moment. He was also working for one of the embassies here in London, doing a little bit of butlering stuff there, and but at the moment he's looking for something more permanent. Brian says, "Once they are out of sight behind kitchen doors, I bet those well-dressed and well-mannered Fortnum employees laugh themselves silly at the outrageous prices some people can be induced to pay for a simple cup of tea and a few dainty sandwiches, with the crusts cut off. Shame on you for being sucked into their scam." He says, "Just kidding, I'm sure you felt it was worth every penny. As they say, perception is reality." Actually, yes, it was expensive, and... Oh, isn't that windy? Where's that wind coming from, dear? God, it was expensive. Was it worth the money? In this case, yes. In this case, yes, because the two friends together, out and had a good time, yes, it was worth the money in this case. I know that much, so you've got to be in the situation to realise if it was worth the money or not. You know me with anything to do with a car, you know. Oil change on a car, 30 quid, not worth the money. Has to be done, of course, but some of the charges some of these garages have are just astronomical. Motorcycle news from Brian. He says, yesterday, if you're wondering, perhaps Brian, I'm hoping will also respond to the question I gave him in the last show. He may have already responded, but I just haven't got to it yet, okay? Because we're still recorded at the moment a week in advance, although you know that's changing soon. Motorcycle news. Yesterday, I attended a motorcycle gathering at a small lakeside resort town about an hour from my home. Oh, I got something... Oh, what was that? Something caught in my tooth then. I think it might have been a bit of the cheese and onion pasty from earlier. The small town is called Port Dover and normally has a population of about 5,000. A tradition has grown up over the last decade or so whereby motorcyclists descend on the town in great numbers every time there is a Friday the 13th, as there was yesterday. This year was a little special. They were trying for a record attendance to get in the Guinness Book of Records for most bikes assembled for a one-day gathering. Apparently, they had to reach 10,000 bikes to qualify. 10,000! They handed out special attendance tags to the first 12,000 people arriving. I got there about 9:15 in the morning and got tag number 5,018. The TV news is reporting today that they had about, are you ready for this? 30,000 bikes and an estimated 150,000 visitors in the town. How fantastic. On Friday the 13th, oh, by the way, have you seen those? What do you think of those films, the Friday the 13th ones? Do you like those horror films? I used to love those. I went to see the very first Friday the 13th film at the cinema, and it absolutely terrified me. The best bit was when they were running through the forest and this body just dropped out of the branches. Do you remember that scene? Oh, it terrified me. I was screaming watching this film. He says, on Friday the 13th, the police even stop all the cars entering the town about 2 miles out of town, other than the residents, and only bikes are allowed in. Visitors coming by car to see the spectacle must park outside the town and take shuttle buses in. I wonder what the local residents think of all this nonsense. No doubt it does bring a lot of money into the town, so perhaps they don't complain. Certainly not the restaurant and bar owners. Of course not. I bet the prices go up in the hotels, don't they? I bet they put the prices up of those hotels. Eh? When you have these events. I don't go every year, but decided I should go this time and do my part in the record attempt. I usually go early and leave by mid-afternoon before things get too crazy in the evening. Generally, however, the crowd is pretty well behaved and everyone is friendly and what is that noise? Oh, it's that time. It's the children coming home from school again. Generally, however, the crowd is pretty well behaved and everyone is friendly and having a good time enjoying the camarade of the biking fraternity. There is always a large police presence and local chapters of outlaw bike gangs, such as the Hells Angels, do show up along with all the bike riding doctors, lawyers and would-be tough guys. So far, nothing has ever gone out of hand and there's never been any major incident. I've known people who are in Hells Angels chapters and they are some of the nicest people I've met. There are actually a couple living who've got bikes and all the levers and that over there. I don't know if they are Hells Angels. Lovely people. Lovely people. It's only a uniform, isn't it? That's all it is, a uniform. Awful lot of noise going on here. We're nearly finished now, never mind. And can you hear those dogs going, man? What's going on? Below are a few pictures I took early in the morning when I arrived, all the downtime streets like this. And that's from Brian. Thank you very much. And lovely pictures there, Brian. Great emails, Brian writes. It's nice to hear from you, even just now and again. All right, Brian, great to hear from you, sir. Finally on the show today, an email from Suko, which we may not finish, actually. I've got an email here from Suko and another one from Susan. Actually, I'm just wondering. Suko, I'll just... Oh, we've only got about a minute and a half left. Anyway, Suko writes here about Reardontown, which will be advertised. Reardontown is, of course, the town that we're all going to club together and buy. Okay? Reardontown will be the happiest place on earth, Suko writes. A melting pot where citizens are hand-picked by the mayor, for whom the town is named for their looks and... No, we won't go for looks. Or maybe we will. Looks and personality, regardless of ethnicity, race or religion. Yes, we'll all be together. We will all be together. A place where everyone gets along. In fact, there are no words for war and hate. A place where it's backed to basics. Self-sufficient. Now, there's lots more to that email, but that's where I have to leave it. You'll get the other half of it on the next show, OK? As always, boys and girls, thank you very much for listening and watching the show. It's always great to hear from you. Whatever you've got to say, you may want to comment on any part of the show at all that you want to, either agreeing with me or not. Doesn't matter, I'll still read your email out, OK? You don't have to agree with me on anything. Or bring up your own subjects. That's how this show is. It's all about sharing stories. The email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Thanks for listening and watching. See you on the next one. Bye-bye now.